And what my dad didn't know at the time, and he probably knows now, I'm pretty sure, was after I came out, I decided to change my life. I really actually got really biblical, and I started really, concentrating on God, and then really studying the Word, and excuse me, really studying the Word, and you can't be lazy. There is no miracle pill when it comes to losing weight or being on a diet or whatnot. That's for sure. And I think it was January, and I was on the medication until March, and then I just stopped taking it. Now that's the biggest. I just stopped. I wasn't. I was actually on a diet. I came out with my own diet. 1,200 calories is bare minimum before the metabolic rate slows down. Working out 6 days a week. I was very determined. It had a lot to do with finally just not being lazy and just there is no miracle anything in life. You just got to bone up and do it. Simple as that. And so, sorry. Um, Excuse me. So, what these chemicals, these drugs do, they're all man-made. There's only one, I think, Lamictal, that's not. They, they're really dangerous if you don't slowly wean off. It can have an adverse effect, which it did. Um, I had lost, come December of 2004, I became very religious, very, very religious, to a point of I had lost like 60 pounds. I was 170 pounds, very in shape. Totally changed my life. I got what the doctors would call bipolar mania, where instead of being extremely depressed, you're extremely happy. Now, I've done drugs before, and I'll get into all that, and I've done many drugs. I'm not happy to say that. I was never super, super addicted to any of them. I was addicted to the void in my life. That's what I was addicted to. And you will do anything to try to fill any type of void, no matter how momentary of a bliss the illusion of them might be. That's the biggest thing in life is this illusion of this momentary high that you can get no matter what. Food, drugs, sex, money, overworking. It's such an illusion. Anyway, so now I'm becoming very, very religious, and um, I'm getting very little sleep at the time, and I think at the time, I think my dad actually got scared again because I think he eventually found out I wasn't really taking the medication and whatnot, and um, now it's 2004, a full, what was that, almost 2 years later, 17. I'm just starting my junior year, a little, well, not pretty much into half of it, and I'm becoming very, very religious. Not to well, some of my friends think I'm a little too religious, and I'm talking too much about. I've done ecstasy before. I did it, I think, twice or once, and the feeling that I felt on ecstasy could not compare to anything I was feeling right here. Like every morning I woke up and everything was just beautiful. I saw God's creation and meaning like a beautiful day, and I wasn't taking anything for granted, but I was extremely zealous, and I don't know if it had anything to do with the medication or just totally not, totally coming off of it where it wasn't healthy or whatnot, but now we have to think about the medication to begin with. I wasn't supposed to be on any of these meds to begin with because I was never actually suicidal. So, I mean, you give something to someone that doesn't need something, it might end up turning them into something you're trying to prevent, which is bipolar mania. If you give me medication for bipolar and I'm not bipolar, will it give me bipolar? And then again, I mean, don't get me wrong, I did wean, or I just totally came off of it, which was not smart whatsoever. So I ended up getting Baker acted again in, what is this? This is Savannah's again. Some of the same doctors were there. Some of the same doctors were there. Some of the same people, even the doctors remember taking my picture almost 2 years later, and they said, "Wow, you've lost so much weight." And I was very religious inside the hospital. I actually remember right in the beginning of the hospital, I ran for it. I ran up to someone's car, asked them to give me a ride, and then I came out and they said no, or I don't know what happened. And then I ended up running away because they were trying to Baker Act me, and for some reason I didn't want to whatsoever, and I really didn't want to. I didn't think anything was wrong with me at the time, and ended up going to the woods, and then I ended up popping out of the woods, and a cop came down the street that I was on, and I asked him, his lights weren't on. I said, "Hey, sir, can you give me a ride to the nearest gas station?" He said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So as soon as I got into, he patted me down. As soon as I got into the cop car, I'm only 17. He says on the microphone, he goes, "Bring in white juvenile back to Savannah's." And I was like, "Oh, good one, man. That's real good." They put an APB back for me as soon as I ran from the mental hospital. So they brought me back there, and of course I got Baker acted again. And this was a little different time. I wasn't. I didn't think there was nothing wrong with me. I was very, very religious. Meaning always happy. I won't. Very, very religious. What does that really mean? I wouldn't say. I was just very, very happy. Very, 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 very happy, and always talking about Christ and how He's affected my life, and I strive to want that same feeling back. I will get that feeling back one day, and not one day. I'll strive for it because. Well, anyway, let's get back to it. I remember helping a lot of people out in there. There was a 16-year-old girl or 15 or 16 who got pregnant, and I prayed with everyone all the time, and I remember praying for her, and I said, if you confess to God your sin, which was, having sex before marriage, obviously, and He'll definitely forgive you. It's just the realization of you needing to want Christ, or the realization to need Him, that He wants you to acknowledge. And then after you acknowledge the realization that we all need Him, you need to confess that we are all sinners. We all fall way short of the glory of God. And she prayed that prayer, and it's funny. She asked for forgiveness for doing this big sin, and that same exact night, I woke up in a mental institution, and they're weaning her out to the emergency room somewhere, and I asked what was going on, and they said she just had a miscarriage. And I was bamboozled, and I was just like, wow, we just prayed. I'm like, could that be God taking back the child that that He originally gave her on her own accord and free will, but because she acknowledged her sin, maybe it wasn't just right at that point in time for her to have a child. Maybe she wouldn't be